Hey, we're live. Look at that.
Hey,
So, I have no idea what our stream quality is. This was something I was trying to figure out as I was getting everything set up. So, I don't know what I'm doing. When I was looking at it on my screen, it didn't look very good. So, I apologize if we're in terrible resolution um, because I don't know how to fix that problem right now. And
that's why we're testing. That's why
I
the
don't know what to
title
do
of
about
this
that.
episode is Testing, Testing.
So, I'll ask people in chat here.
Ooh, that needs to be shut off.
Um, So we are officially live. So I'm gonna stop worrying
Woo!
about stream resolution, um,
And start
and
worrying about the stream.
and start worrying about the stream itself because I can't do anything about the resolution at this point. So hopefully people can let us know if it sucks and just exactly how bad the resolution is, um, or we'll figure it out. Whatever. Um, So, all right. Well, we have an agenda theoretically. So, why don't we go through our agenda?
Sounds like a plan, Stan. So the first thing was who we are.
Who are
So
we?
we are Erin Ogden and Jeff Glazer.
Oh,
Uh,
neat.
I'm I can go first.
Okay.
Okay. I'm the Erin part. And so I'm an attorney. I work with a lot of businesses, but my background isn't business. My bachelor's degree is in genetics, my master's degree is in dairy science. So as you can guess, there was zero things like accounting or marketing classes involved. So all of my business skills come from asking a lot of questions of people who know about it way more than me and listening and taking advice and trying stuff and seeing what works and what doesn't. Unlike you, Jeff, who has a bit more of a classical business background.
I don't know about classical, but sure, I'll take it. Um, I don't know that when people think of like the greatest business minds in the world, if a bachelor's at the University of Toledo after um, after changing majors two or three times is really what you consider a classical business background. But
But your bachelor's is in what? Operations management.
but yeah, um, I am also an attorney. I work for the University of Wisconsin's Law and Entrepreneurship Clinic, where we provide free legal services for startup businesses. So, in a normal day, I supervise a pretty large handful of students that work with about 300 some odd clients a year um, to uh, startup businesses. My own background is a bachelor's in information systems and operations management. Prior to law school, I worked as a software developer. I worked as a dock supervisor at roadway transportation. Um, let's see, I worked as a software developer at three different Fortune 500 companies. I somewhere in there managed to find time to go get an MBA, where I sort of fell in love with marketing. I thought I was gonna be in finance, and so when I went, I thought I was gonna do a corporate finance sort of route on my MBA, and ended up sort of falling backwards into marketing, kind of weirdly while I was in my MBA. Ended up then working in a marketing department after I started my MBA, doing IT stuff, whatever. Talk about more eventually, but then eventually left and went to law school, where I've been working with. I started working with technology companies, and I still do a lot of work with technology companies. But I think most people who tune into this stream who know me probably know me from my food and beverage background. So I do a lot of work with breweries, wineries, distilleries all around the country, all around. I don't know. I'm sure we have some that are in other parts of the world, but most of them I can think of, at least off the top of my head, are here in the country. Most of them, of course, here in Wisconsin, where I'm very actively involved with the Brewers Guild, the Winery Association, and the Distillers Guild in trying to get out information and trying to really just support the industry of craft manufacturers, craft beverage manufacturers here in the state.
Speaking of all of those drinks, the whole conceit of this, the name of it is Hosted Bars, that we want to discuss business over drinks. So, Jeff, what you drinking today?
I am drinking alcohol. I'm drinking those things, actually. Those things.
Okay.
All
So
three of those things put
straight from the
together.
bottle?
What? So
just straight
it
from
has
the bottle?
mostly that, which is the Lacrosse Distilling High Rye Whiskey. It has a little bit of that, which is a sweet vermouth. It has a little bit of that, which is the State Line Distilling Aperitivo. And then it has a few drops of Bolivar bitters. And it looks like that.
Does it have a name?
It does. It's called the Liberal in honor of Joe Biden.
Fair enough.
Well,
So,
the drink is not named the Liberal in honor of Joe Biden. I am drinking the drink called the Liberal in honor of Joe Biden. It's actually a classic cocktail that was created. I don't know the history of it. I'd be lying if I said I did. I don't really know anything about it, but it seemed good. I was looking for stuff that had rye whiskey in it, and I'd never had one before, and it sounded interesting. So that's why I decided to drink it. What are you drinking?
I decided that it was a porter kind of day. And so I'm going with Oso's Night Rain, Oso Brewing Company.
You're not actually drinking that out of the can, are you?
No.
Well, thank you.
Glass. Then I have not been drinking that much. It just happens to be a really big glass.
So that glass, I don't know how many people are watching this thing, but if anybody is watching that glass, I can't really point at it because it's over there.
This glass right here.
That glass was designed by a guy named Randy Mosher for AIGA Madison. Back when a dude named Gage Mitchell was the head of AIGA Wisconsin for Craft Beer Week, I think, back when I ran Craft Beer Week. Gage, no, because Gage was already in Seattle by the time I ran Craft Beer Week, so it had to have been after
He
that.
did your designs the first couple of years.
Yeah, he did our designs for the first few years. Gage did, not Randy. Gage did our designs for the first few years. And he was still in Madison when we technically started it, so it would have been right around that time that Gage, on behalf of AIGA Wisconsin, had Randy Mosher come to Madison and give a talk about design. And Randy's a graphic designer. He's been working in the industry designing beer labels for decades, forever. And so he came to Madison and talked to, I don't know, whoever showed up, about beer and label design. And as part of his appearance, he designed that glass for us, or for Gage at least. And so we got a small handful of them, and that's one of them that has survived the 18 moves we've made since we acquired it.
Right? And I think we actually got this because we spoke at some AIGA events too, or at least I did.
Sure. Fair. I mean, I don't know. We have spoken at lots of AIGA events over the years, so very supportive of the organization. They're a great organization. And Gage is still very active, but he's now in Seattle. So yeah.
I hope to talk
interesting glass. It's very cool, very fun talk.
I'm hoping to talk Gage into joining us later on once we figure out how these technical things work.
That'd be cool.
But you are currently the keeper of the agenda. I don't know where you saved it, so you can tell me what's on our thing next. I am the keeper
of the agenda. I do have the agenda. So we were talking about what are you drinking. The other thing I wanted to talk about, I ran across this morning, and it made me think of made me think of this because, well, for a variety of reasons. So I was watching. I don't know. Do you watch any like reaction streamers? Like there's like this category of streamers of YouTubers. I think is the technical term for these people, which I guess now includes us. I think we are now YouTubers, which
I
I think
think
would
we
make
might
my
be.
nephew. I think would make well our nephew. For those who don't know, Erin and I are married. I think would make Oliver very, very, very jealous to know that we are um, to know that we are now officially YouTubers.
We won't tell him that we only have like 2 subscribers, which are us.
We have somebody that's subscribed that's not us. Um, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, where was I going with this? YouTuber. Um, so
Yeah.
there's this category of YouTubers that are like reaction YouTubers. You know how there's like the unboxer YouTubers, like the people that like unbox shit. And so these people, they don't unbox anything, but they watch things for the first time and then film themselves watching shit. And so
Well, I've seen a dude do that with like cooking, and he was like, "What? You don't do
yeah,
that."
I mean, it's you know, I don't know. There's sort of this stupid guilty pleasure, and it's hard to know that like it's hard to know how genuine it all is. It seems pretty good. Um, it's a little weird, and maybe in a different environment, I'll talk about why it's as weird as I think it is. Um, but every now and then they just seem interesting. So anyway, there I was watching a guy this morning. His name is he YouTubes or streams under the name Jamel, aka Jamal, and he did a reaction video for the Counting Crows, Mr. Jones. And it was the first time he had ever seen the Counting Crows Mr. Jones video. But during the video, he says he had for some reason done a different Counting Crows reaction video earlier, and then the commenter, the like watcher, the viewer people were like, you should watch Mr. Jones. And I don't know why, like if you're doing Counting Crows, like why you wouldn't start with Mr. Jones. It's like I don't know what he started with, but
I think this conversation is going afield. So okay.
yeah. Anyway, so he was watching Mr. Jones, and it reminded me like just how great of a song that was. But towards the end of it, I mean, honestly, it's one of my favorite songs of all time. But some of the lyrics towards the end of it reminded me of what we are doing today. And so, where it says, Mr. Jones and me staring at the video. When I look at the television, I want to see me staring right back at me. We all want to be big stars, but we don't know why and we don't know how. But when everybody loves me, I'm going to be just about as happy as I can be. Right?
I will say, in the land of Zoom, there is a whole lot of me staring back at me, and it freaks me out.
There's a lot of me staring back at me, and when I see me on YouTube, I can be just about as happy as I can be, to be famous. And the weird thing in retrospect about that song, and maybe I'm showing my Counting Crows nerddom here, and we are very far afield from where this whole thing started. But what was interesting to me about that song is that it was really written at a time that was very innocent and naive for Adam Duritz and the Counting Crows. It was written, obviously, before they were Adam Duritz and the Counting Crows. They were just the Counting Crows, and nobody knew who they were, and he wanted to be famous. And as that song grew and they became the Counting Crows that everybody knows, and they became super famous, that song actually took on a whole different meaning as they sort of reconceived it as not, I want to be popular and I want to be, I'm trying so hard to make my career what I want it to be and to be big and to be famous and so that everybody loves me. Like that's the whole reason you become a musician, right? And having achieved that, the song took on this whole other meaning and it became more of a lament. And I think about that in terms of my own career, right? Is that we have these desires and aspirations early on in our career that sort of comes from this place of naivete and comes from a place of, youthful exuberance, and we don't know where our careers are going to land us, but we just want to make sure that we're doing something important and doing something big. And sort of once we end up there, are we really going to be the sort of happy person that we thought we were going to be? And I think Adam would answer that question no, is that actually the fame, fortune, and girls that the song sort of yearns for isn't really all it's cracked up to be, right? It has its own trade-offs that come with it, and it being successful is great, but sometimes you don't want to be the guy on the television. So anyway, I think that song is just something that was really, I feel like it's something that's just every now and then shows up throughout your life, or my life at least, and sort of reminds me of what it was like to be back then, and try to keep the eye on the ball of what you want that fame and fortune to be for you today.
Fair enough. Though I don't think, maybe your plan is to become a huge YouTuber and like have your own line of hoodies, but that's not really why I'm doing this. I'm not. I frankly don't need to see my face on more Zooms. My thing is that we just run across so many fascinating, interesting people. And like I said, my background isn't business, yet I run a business and I help businesses. And so throughout my career, I've just had the opportunity to ask people how they run their business or what their expertise is, and learn so much. And then people ask me kind of some of the same questions. And I realized that we have an opportunity selfishly to learn more and be able to get people on the show to ask all of these questions that I've been wanting to ask, but also help a lot of our people that we know who are asking the same questions. And so it's less about fame and fortune and girls, though, I guess if we have a cleaning person come into our lives, I won't complain.
You're
But
not in it for the
more,
girls. I'm in it
I'm
for the
not in it
girls.
for I'm not in it for the girls necessarily.
I'm in it for the girls.
But I think the last thing on our agenda is actually like, why are we doing this? Why are you doing this? And mine is because I wanted a show like this. I would love to be able to watch a show like this. And then I realized if I want that and I can have the power to do that, then let's do it.
So this is the magic of doing shows with Jeff. What seemed like a really weird, odd tangent off into the universe of the Counting Crows was actually a lead-in for our discussion. And even though I hadn't said that we were moving on to the next agenda point, we already got there in talking about why we're doing this.
Yeah, you did actually show me the agenda. So there might have been some forethought there. It might not, not to say that you're not magical and all of that. Just saying maybe I saw a little bit behind the curtains there. How about you, Jeff? Last time I asked you why you did this, your answer was because I asked. But then I said, I ask you about a lot of things that you don't do. So why are you interested in this? So you can talk about like Counting Crows and drink mixed drinks in the afternoon?
I'm here for the girls. Why am I doing it? I mean, that's an interesting question. Because yeah, you asked me to do it, and I said, yeah, I'll do it. Sure, why not? And I mean, that's sort of part and parcel of Jeff's life, is just randomly agreeing to shit and seeing what happens. But part of it too, I think to me, it's more about talking to people about interesting things. Like I guess I have less of an agenda about this than you do. I have less of I want to try to teach the viewer specific things, right? It's not about like, oh, what can I learn about inbound marketing? Like, I'm not really like, that's not really why I'm, what can I learn or what can I teach about inbound marketing? I mean, interesting. All right, sure, why not? But Don Stanley's a cool dude. right? And I want to talk to him. He's a smart guy. He's a smart person. I want to talk to smart people about smart things and see what they have to say about the world around them, right? Because I'm just one data point in the entire universe, right? And the world is interesting for a lot of reasons. And so to be able to bring in cool people who do interesting things and talk to them about why they do those things and how they see the world, like to me, that's really interesting. And I get to drink while I do it and, whatever. But to me, it's less about learning and teaching because I have plenty of that in my life. But it's less about the learning and teaching and more just about having the opportunity to have an interesting conversation with people who are really smart and have interesting things to say.
So speaking of Don, so Don Stanley of Three Rhino Media is going to be our first guest. And he's coming on November 6th because we are planning on having guests on the first Friday of every month and only at 3 o'clock instead of 2. Today we had to do some changing because of your desperately needed haircut.
I'm getting a haircut today for anybody who doesn't know. So next week, next 2 weeks from
2 weeks.
2 weeks from now, November, whatever it is, 6th, maybe?
Yep.
My hair will be at least a little bit shorter. We'll find out how much shorter later today.
So Don's coming in and talking about just what the fuck inbound marketing actually is. And
yeah, I was telling the people at the L&E clinic that Don was coming in to talk about inbound marketing and marketing strategy, and they were very excited to hear about marketing funnels. I talk a lot at the L&E clinic about marketing strategy and funnels. Remember when we were talking before about how I got this weird obsession with marketing when I was in my MBA? And so I do a lot of the education and discussion with both our students and our entrepreneurs at the clinic around thinking about marketing and marketing strategy. And granted, I'm not nearly as smart as Don about this stuff. Like I have a very rudimentary understanding, and it's not something I spend my life inside of. But when you know more than the people you're talking to, you're the expert. So I can explain it to other people, and so I'm generally the person that sort of takes on teaching people.
But
about
so
marketing.
we're gonna have Don come in and tell us all of this stuff, and then with the third Friday of every month at 3, then you and I are going to discuss the topic more, given that we just learned a lot the prior episode, and see if we can apply it to our lives, given that we are not experts in any of these fields, and kind of what we learned from that. That's more or less the plan all the time. Well, hopefully enjoying something to drink, sometimes alcoholic, sometimes not, depending on the week and the guests. But this week in particular felt like it needed to end in a stronger drink than hot chocolate. Though one thing I just finished literally minutes before this was I moderated a panel for American Intellectual Property Law Association. We're talking about the highlights of the year in IP and what things have happened. And one of the cases that one of the attorneys discusses, one I actually saw on Twitter today too, so I thought I was cool. I was on top of things. And it's this case about there's a company that makes like chew toys and dog toys, and they're all these parodies of famous things, a lot of times beer. And so they have right now, I think it's even going to the Supreme Court. I think that's what was on Twitter today, is that things were filed and taken today about a bottle that looks a lot. So it's a chew toy, so rubber, but looks like a Jack Daniels bottle that is actually called, it's Bad Spaniel instead of Jack Daniels. And it looks a lot like it, but it's all very funny and clearly not whiskey. And so trying to figure out, when are you trading off somebody's reputation? When are you kind of stealing all of their hard work and goodwill versus just being funny, right? do you think that Jack Daniels is selling chew toys or not? And with this day, with all of the
Do I
cross
think Jack Daniels
marketing,
is selling chew toys under the name Bad Spaniel? No.
right?
I don't think Jack Daniels is selling chew toys under the name Bad
Well,
Spaniel.
so that's, I mean, that's the question, right? Or are they endorsing it? And so
Of course
with
not.
all the day of all this cross
If they were
marketing,
endorsing it, it would be called fucking Jack Daniels.
right? So this has gone. This is where court cases go, though, like, right? Everything goes to court,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
sometimes it's
I
just
don't
a
know.
funny
I'm
dog.
sort of tired of this trademark bullying bullshit. And Jack Daniels tries to, admittedly, they try to take the high road on this stuff, and they try to be nice people about it. But they try to be nice people, but they send out thousands of cease and desists a year. And yeah, I mean, granted, sort of like Harley Davidson, like the number of people that sort of that in our universe infringe the Harley Davidson and Jack Daniels uh, trademarks. Yeah, you know what? Fuck those people. They're a bunch of assholes, right? And there's a weird liquor store over on the east side of Madison that has like a
Yeah,
weird Harley Davidson logo on it that for
yeah, it has
some
a shield
reason
and
is
bar.
still there. But like I totally get it, right? That like all of these biker clubs are using like Harley Davidson logos, or sort of bastardizing Harley Davidson logos or Jack Daniels logos. And it's not that I have anything against bikers or biker clubs or whatever, but like do your own fucking creative work. But on the other hand, if I want to make a chew toy because I think it's funny to see my dog chewing on a fucking whiskey bottle, just because it's a square whiskey bottle with a black label on it doesn't mean I imply any sort of connection to fucking Jack Daniels.
So to be fair, it was closer. They had a lot of the things that you see, but with the swirls and and it didn't say number 7, it's a number 2, and he showed examples of quite a few of them, and I have to say they were pretty clever. They had a lot of different really clever things. Though speaking of not very clever things, you were telling me this morning about a not very clever password.
Oh, yeah. So I think I was reading yesterday that there was this Dutch, um, there was a Dutch white hat hacker. So white hat, black hat hackers, right? White hat hackers are good hackers. Black hat hackers are bad hackers. Um, and so this white hat hacker group out of the Netherlands, just occasionally with high profile people, and it's not the president in particular, but just a number of high profile people. And these people, apparently this hacker group is sort of like well known for this. They are, I don't remember the name of the hacker group, but it was interesting. So in any event, they were just sort of in the lead up to the election in a couple weeks here. In the lead up to the election, they were like, "Oh, we should see if we can hack Donald Trump's Twitter account." And for the second time, by the way, they hacked it back in 2016. Which Trump never admitted to. So back in 2012, it was hacked, and he did admit to that one. In 2016, he didn't admit that it was hacked, but they hacked it, but they didn't have any real proof of it. This time, and like when I say hacking, like I don't know what the normal person thinks of as hacking. I have a pretty technical background. I used to be a quote hacker back in the day. But basically, they just sort of fucking guessed at passwords. Like most of hacking is not what we would call brute force hacking, right? It's not what we would. It's not like taking a program and just setting it to randomly try numbers. Like if you do that, you're going to spend forever fucking hacking passwords. Like that's not the best way to hack things, right? The best way to hack something, if you want to know somebody's password, the best way to know their password is to call them up and ask them what their fucking password is, right? And so called this social hacking. And so if you want to know somebody's password, you call them up and you say, "Hey, my name's so and so. I'm with IT at your company. We heard that there was a problem with your network. Can you give me your username and password so I can make sure you're not having any problems?" right? And you, as moron person answering the phone, say, "Oh, you sound like a legit person. Sure, my username is X and my password is ABC," and now they have a password, right? So that's how
So I'm
most.
assuming they didn't call up Trump
No,
and
of course
say,
they didn't just call up Donald Trump and ask him, "Hey, we see your Twitter account is down. Can you tell me your password?" But instead, they just tried like obvious things, right? And in this case, they tried the password was MAGA 2020 exclamation point, and that was the password. That was the password to Donald Trump's Twitter account. That's it. MAGA 2020 exclamation point, password to Donald Trump's
I
Twitter
feel
account.
like we have been
And
told we should do
it
better
didn't have
passwords than that.
two-factor authentication enabled. So
It did not.
they did not. They didn't have two-factor authentication enabled. There's some theories around why. And obviously somebody with, somebody at Donald Trump's level of security theoretically should be pretty locked down, but they think that the security had been sort of ratcheted down because of him being in the hospital with coronavirus, and so they wanted to give other people greater access to the account, so that other people, so that like his chief of staff or whoever his social fucking media people are, so that they could log in. Because I mean, if you looked at his Twitter during that time, there were very clearly tweets that were not from Donald Trump because they were correctly spelled. So you could tell that they were not tweets that Donald Trump would make, right? They were people who were very clearly taking over his Twitter account to reassure humanity that Donald Trump was fine. And so they think that's sort of the theory why security was maybe ratcheted down at the moment that these people tried to get into his account. Nonetheless, password MAGA 2020 exclamation point got them in. He posted this time, instead of just logging in, confirming that he logged in and logging back out, he actually posted something from the account, because last time he did this, nobody paid attention and nobody admitted to it. So this time, he the guy posted a tweet that was basically linking to a parody site, like basically like The Onion, and then logged out and sent it to his people and said, "Hey, you might want to lock down your account." So anyway, that was in the news yesterday. I thought it was pretty interesting. I think the moral of the story is enable fucking two-factor authentication. Like, that's the moral of the story. Two-factor authentication. Don't have your password be MAGA 2020 exclamation point.
I think no one would guess that from mine.
Yeah, I mean, maybe for you that would be a good password, because nobody would guess that for you.
All right,
So
well,
maybe,
that's 35 minutes, man.
yeah. Well, 33 minutes and 20 seconds actually.
We aiming for 30, so
25, 26, 27, 28 seconds.
we're good. So do you think that the system worked okay? We think we're good?
Sure, why not?
Awesome.
Seemed to work fine enough.
Then we'll be on November 6th at 3 p.m. Central with Don Stanley of Three Rhino Media, talking about just WTF is inbound marketing.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks. Later.